Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the final session of our Coaching Summit Day 2. It's been an amazing couple of days. Today has just been fantastic. I don't think we could top yesterday, but we have. So all of our sessions should allow you to enable captions if you wish. So please go ahead and do that now if you need to. And I just want to say thank you again for everybody who's attended to all of our sessions. We really appreciate the time that you've taken out of your days, whether it's a lunch break or you've taken time off work to be here. We really do appreciate it. So I'm going to crack on now and let's get on with our final session of the day, which is with the lovely Chloe Angus. Chloe is here today and she is talking about building habits through coaching to support your leadership identity. Thanks so much for being here, Chloe. It's really lovely to see you. And I will hand over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ellie. I am just going to share my screen with you. Great, so I'm just going to bring my chat down here so I can see everyone. So thank you for joining me today for this session. It's really great to see so many of you here. My name's Chloe. I am a leadership coach and trainer. And I'm just going to pop a message in the chat to get things going because I appreciate that not everyone can stay for this whole session. And so I wanted to make sure that even if you do have to run off before the end of the session, that you can contact me, you can stay in connection with me on LinkedIn, and you don't miss out on the freebie, because there is a freebie, and I want you all to have access to that. So I'm quite proud of the freebie that I have created today. So I'd love for you to have access to that. So to start with, I am going to tell you a little bit about me. This is me in all different shades of me. I am an ILM Level 7 leadership coach and trainer. I went from spending 15 years in the corporate world working for a global manufacturing company. My final role there was global head of customer service. It was a £250 million company, but I was miserable by the end of it. A lot of what Marsha was saying in the last session about kind of reaching that burnout stage, feeling like you're not appreciated, feeling like you don't necessarily have a purpose in what you're doing, and really lacking that energy and that interest in what you're doing, led for me to make a different decision for myself. So I now have what people call a portfolio career. I have my leadership coaching and training business, which I absolutely love. I work part-time for a local charity, which is close to my heart, helping people who are affected by cancer. And I also have 2 volunteer roles. One is as the trustee for a local charity, who are focused on kind of environmental and recycling, and another is being co-lead of a local group of coaches. And one of the photos on here is of my co-lead, Julie, who I know is in this session actually today. So thank you, Julie, for coming here to support me. And this was at a recent event we put on. So we've only been co-leading this group for 18 months, and we put on this huge event celebrating coaching, celebrating people with interest in coaching. So we had a little drink to celebrate after that. One of my favourite roles is I'm a dog mum. This is my dog, Bella. She is a rescue and she is absolutely my best friend. I will talk to her every single day. Her conversation isn't great, but she is my best friend. My main driver, and what I realized as I was going through that kind of burnout moment and that honest misery in my previous role, was that my passion has always been about people. People has always been my main driver. And as I have delved into my values more, I've realized that my passion is also about the environment and the planet that we live on. That has become more and more important in how I turn up every day, my everyday habits. And I'll share a little bit more about that with you as we go through, because I think our habits and how we show up each day, what we do all the time, is part of how we see ourselves and part of our identity. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. My years as a leader in corporate pushed me to do the work that I do now, because I didn't have confidence. I didn't take any confidence to what I did at work. I had really poor work-life balance. I wasn't very active, actually. I wasn't very good at making decisions. I was passive. So instead of deciding what I wanted to do, I let kind of this weight of expectations of society, of other people, of previous role models who were not very good role models in those leadership roles, I have to admit to you. I let those weigh down on me, and that stopped me from turning up as a person that I wanted to be. I didn't realize I actually had a choice about what my leadership identity was. I thought, actually, I'm supposed to just turn up and do these actions. I didn't realize that I could do them in a different way and that I could choose who I was in that leadership role. Now, we're all different people. And what I want us all to understand today as we're going through this habits and you as a leader is that at the heart of everything I do, I'm very solutions focused as a coach, actually. And you'll see that probably in the tools that I'm going to share with you, because it's quite an interactive session. I am going to ask you to get involved, so it is quite interactive. But at the heart of everything, it is that individuality. No two leaders are the same. No two coaches are the same. We are all different, even in just small, nuanced ways. How can we think about bringing a little bit more of ourselves to what we're doing in just little actions that we take each day? And how is that going to help us to feel about ourselves? So I'm big on those small actions as well. Sometimes it takes big changes. For me, I definitely made some big changes in my life. But it's not always about those big things. It's about the little things that can take us to where we want to be and how we can be consistent with that as well. So to start the session, I'd love to know if you can pop in the chat what brought you here today, what sparked your interest about the session today. Doesn't have to be long, it can just be something simple, something short. What sparked your interest today? Yeah. Building habits that last. Yeah, that's important, isn't it? You're a newly qualified coach, fantastic. Okay, you're a leader in your old life and thinking about how you can be a leader now. Great. So something that was shared in an earlier session actually is that we're all leaders in some way. So even if you don't have leader or head of or whatever that might be in your title, you are a leader of your own life in some way. Lots of people newly qualified, starting out in their new business, wanting to set good habits to start there, always learning. Yes, absolutely, Steve. Stepping into management and wanting to be good at it, as well as having that side hustle that works for you. And some coaches who coach senior leaderships as well. But I'm really pleased to hear that you didn't necessarily consider yourself as a form of a leader, but your perception of that is changing. Great. Well, I'm hoping you all take some things from this today. Like I said, we're going to have some interaction, some reflection maybe. Julie's just put there about reconsidering the habits that support you. So maybe a reflection of what habits do help you right now and what new ones you might want to bring in. So it might be that you decide to break a habit, it might be that you want to build a new habit, or it might be that you're already doing something and you want to do a little bit more of that. In the last session, Marsha talked about finding more joy. Maybe that's a habit that you want to think about as well. So what are habits? Well, these are some definitions of what habits are. It's a routine of behaviour that is repeated regularly and tends to occur subconsciously. So it's habitual, and we don't necessarily need to think about it. It happens automatically a lot of the time. It's almost second nature to us. A settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. I'm wondering whether that's resonating with any of you about some of those hindering habits. I know when I'm thinking about doing something and I know what the right answer, the helpful answer is for me, but I also know it's much easier to choose that path that I've walked down many times that's maybe not so helpful to me. It's much easier to kind of grab the TV remote than pick up a book sometimes, or it's much easier to grab a bag of crisps than actually make something nice for dinner sometimes as well. So something that can be quite hard to give up because we've done it so many times, it's habitual. Another definition is something that you do often and regularly, sometimes without knowing that you're actually doing it. So you might have habits that come to mind immediately and think, yes, this is a habit that I do. But you might have others that you don't necessarily think of as habits. They're just things that happen each day, behaviours, routines. It's all kind of different words, isn't it? But a lot of it is the same thing too. Now, someone in the last quote mentioned it's subconscious. We make thousands and thousands of decisions each day. We have thousands and thousands of thoughts each day. And many of these are repeated, they're habitual. And many of these take place subconsciously without us thinking about it. This is a quote from Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habit, which I will reference later on in the session as well. I think it's a really great book. Our unconscious habits are those that come naturally to us. They're second nature. We don't even need to think about them. So as an example, when you get in your car, you automatically put your seatbelt on. When you come to cross a road, you automatically look in both directions to make sure that you're safe before crossing. When you go to the toilet, you automatically wash your hands after going to the toilet. All of these seem like things that we just happen to do. But that wasn't always the case, was it? We were actually taught these things at one point in our life. We created the loop in our brain that says, when this happens, this is what I do. So we were taught by our parents, by our teachers. They helped us to create this habit loop in our brain. They helped us to create that neural pathway that's now really nice and clear because we've done it so many times. Some of you might have created habits in later years too. These might be unconscious to you now. Things like maybe making the bed as soon as you get up. I take my hat off to you, that is not something that I personally do. Or stretching straight after exercise. Maybe doing your skincare routine before bed. Our habits can change. And as Charles Duhigg says, once we understand this, we don't only have the freedom to change our habits and to make them, but we also have a responsibility to ourselves. It builds our confidence, it builds our happiness, but also a responsibility to other people. Many of you might be familiar with habits and goals. So how our habits can lead to us achieving certain goals. A really obvious one around this is if you think of kind of exercise, weight loss, or anything to do with physical seems really obvious. Or if you think of maybe learning a language, if I practice that habit every single day, by the end of a certain time frame, then I will have grasped that language. If I work out each day, if I go for a run each day, by the end of the year, I will be in a fit enough state to run a half marathon. You can see how our habits can lead towards our end goal. And we can also turn it the other way around. So this is what's called a goal pyramid. It's one of the tools that is shared in the habits workbook that I gave the link to earlier. So you can also take your end goal, that's your performance goal, and you can chunk it down to a process goal and then chunk it down to a habit. So these are the things that you do each week, each day. I love a goal pyramid because sometimes what we tend to do when we're setting goals for ourselves, we seem to think perhaps it's just going to happen straight away. That we're going to go from nothing to achieving that goal. We don't necessarily put those steps in place. Something we also, or I definitely tend to forget to do, and so many of my coaching clients struggle with this as well, is that celebration piece. So once we've done a habit for a certain amount of time, once we've achieved a certain level, that process goal, it's a great moment for us to reflect and refine and celebrate what we have achieved so far. So I think this is a great tool for thinking, what are my habits now? Where could this take me? Or what is a goal that I want to set? And what do I need to do in order to achieve it? And how can I start taking action today to know that I'm moving in the right direction? So habits and goals, they're probably quite familiar to you. Maybe not as familiar is habits and identity. This quote from Stephen Covey says that our character is basically a composite of our habits because they are consistent, often unconscious patterns. They constantly, daily express our character. Our habits tell the world, tell ourselves the sort of person that we are. So when you think of yourself as a leader in any aspect of your life, whether that's a leader in business, whether that's that manager who's just stepped up, whether it's that actually you want to be a leader in the future, what are your habits saying about the leader that you are? What sort of leader behaves in the way that you currently behave? And what type of habits might you need to be the leader that you aspire to be? Now, previously as a leader, I did not consider this at all. But one of the things I definitely did not do is I didn't prioritize rest. I didn't give myself permission or the time to relax and recharge. Not only did this leave me feeling burnt out, but it also didn't support the type of leader that I wanted to be. The type of leader I would choose to be does take that time to recharge. She has a good balance. She's got good energy. I also wasn't a good role model for my team. I didn't show any trust in my team. I didn't focus on joy or my love of learning. I actually love smiling. I find joy wherever I go. That was not something I used to do. I would constantly have a frown on my face or be looking for the next thing that I needed to do, my head buried in the doing rather than the being and the feeling. Now I actually find joy in all aspects and I'm learning about myself and the world. And that's what type of leader I would have liked to be. And I choose to be now. My habits at that point, they didn't back me and they didn't bring me confidence, but they also didn't have a positive effect on the people around me. I don't sound like a very good leader in my previous version of self, do I? We're now going to do a little bit of interaction. This is something called Slido. So if you've not heard about Slido before, it is using your phone on QR code. So it's going to show up with a QR code and it's going to ask you some questions. And then it is going to create a word cloud with the question, with the answers that you give. If you're not good with QR codes or you can't use QR codes, there is also a web page and a code that you can put in. So just on the left of the green, I think, is the QR code. And that first question, I want you to think about, what do your habits say about you as a leader? Good, we can see someone's typing already, that's good news. And you should be able to put multiple things in here as well. Ah, focused, wonderful. Organized, precise, listening and calm. Great. So the bigger the word that's shown here is the more times that this is written down. So positive and showing positivity, caring, fantastic. These are all really positive things. I'm very impressed. I hope you feel that this is a safe space as well, that if there is something that you think, actually, there's some things that I'm not necessarily showing as a leader, and that there's some things that you might want to change. I hope you feel supported enough to put this in here, because it is all anonymous. We won't know who's written what there. Curious, I love that. Lazy and procrastinator, yeah. Disorganized, avoiding conflict, okay. Great. We're getting some really good words here. Thank you everyone for taking part in this. I sometimes find when I'm completing these that I see people writing words and I think, yeah, me too. I'm going to write that one down. That one's resonating with me. Okay. Fab. Novice, yeah. And we've all been there, haven't we? That's great. We've got a fantastic mix there of some really authentic, positive ones. And we've got somewhere we're thinking, there are some ways that I'd like to change here, actually. And maybe some of that is actually just a change in your mindset. Maybe it's just a limiting belief that's coming through for you. Or maybe there's some things that you might want to put some habits in place that improve how you're thinking about yourself or the actions that you are taking. Thank you for sharing that one in the chat as well there, Andrew. Lacking focus. Yeah. I definitely feel like that myself sometimes too. Okay. Thank you very much for sharing that. And if we go to the next one, it should give you an option to go to the next question on your Slido. What would you like your habits to say or to give you? So if you think about the type of leader that you want to be, how you want to show up, what comes to mind then? Balance. Yeah. Confident. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so you want to be inspiring. Trust. Yeah. And you probably have some that are the same in this one as showed up on the last one. Actually, some of you might already be doing these things. Driven. Okay. Yeah. That word authentic's come up a lot today, hasn't it? Oh, healthy. Yeah, I can really relate to that one as well. Great. Supporting of diversity and inclusion. The fact that life is more important than work. Sometimes we see those blurred lines, don't we? We can be so focused on building our career, or particularly if you've got your own business as well, it becomes part of everything that you're doing. Or if you're responsible for people, I must be switched on to this all the time. It can be really difficult to switch off. This is great. We've got a real mix of different words. We've not got one word that is huge and the other small, so we've got a real mix of different words there. Wonderful. Still quite a few of you typing, so I'll let the words continue for a little longer. Yeah, influence, your true self, and a role model. Yeah, there's some really, really great words there. Ah. Okay, I'll just give this one more minute. We've got a fantastic word cloud here. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think we've got some really great things to strive for in there. And these are values that maybe you want to have as part of your leadership identity. Maybe you want to include in maybe your leadership statement, your mission statement, or your pledge. Something to think about. In this next slide, we're going to move away from technology a little bit, and I'm hoping you have a pen and paper with you, because in this next slide, we are bringing it all together with a tool that is called the Crossroads exercise. Now, this is often used when we feel like we might be at a crossroads in our life, or we're just taking a moment to reflect, where am I now? What's important to me now? And what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? So this crossroads exercise, in a way, brings together our values, which are in that I am section, along with our habits and our actions, in that I want to, along with our bigger goals and our higher purpose. So grab a pen and paper, draw yourself a nice little square like this, or if you have kind of 4 pieces of paper, 4 little post-it notes, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, she's full of energy, bless her. She's the last one of the day after 2 days. She's like,
Chloe, you're just muted there, sorry.
No problem, thanks, Shelley. That was feedback in action, so there we go. Let's get on with this crossroads exercise. So those 4 blocks, and you can start wherever you want to be. So that last slide we just shared, they were some of your values. So in there were things like, I am authentic, I am confident, I am approachable. Some other words that have come up quite a lot are, I am a good collaborator, I collaborate, I am empathetic, I'm a good communicator, I'm compassionate. And then in the I want to, that's your actions, that's your habits. So what do you want to do to showcase those values? In what ways can you show that value to other people so that your identity and those values are really coming out? And what does that do? What does that give you? How does that make people feel? And what is the higher purpose of this? So what is your in order to that higher purpose? We're not going to have time to finish all of this today. Maybe you just want to pick out one word and think about a habit that could support that value and why that value is important to you and why that habit is important to you. What is that going to give you? What's that going to give other people? And how is that leading to your bigger goal? So we're just going to give kind of 3 minutes or so to start thinking about this. Maybe presence is important to you. What do you need to do in order to achieve that? Perhaps it's something around getting more sleep. Something simple like, I don't take my phone to bed with me. or I don't take my phone into meetings. So for me, when I was doing this, the first thing that came to mind for me was kindness. That was a really big value that I found was really important for me. But it wasn't something that I was necessarily showing in my behaviours. My behaviours were actually more aligned with judgment, particularly of myself, but also of other people. So this is your exercise. You can start wherever you want. If you want to start in order to, on those bigger purposes, you can do that as well. Okay, just a few more moments. You need to start thinking of those values, those habits, what's important for your identity, where you are right now, and where you want to go. Okay. And this is something that you can continue to work on after this session. Maybe after this whole summit, you'll have different exercises that you think, actually, I'd like to go back to that. So it's not a finished document, don't worry, it's something that you can keep coming back to. And you can use again in the future. And you can also use this with your teams. So it doesn't have to just be about you. You can use this as your team as you're starting to kind of build a bit of an identity, a bit of a brand with them as well. Thanks for that, Ali. And Danielle, I'm caring, want to support people in a way which feels appropriate for them in order to help them reach their goals. That is lovely. Thank you for sharing that. And what I'd love for you to think about with that, what does that mean in terms of your actions? What's going to help you to support people? How does it feel to them? What actions are you going to take there? Okay. We're now going to look at a little bit of the science around habits. So this is the habit loop. You might have seen this before. You might not have seen it, but it might actually make quite a lot of sense to you if you think about it. And don't worry, I'll be sharing all my slides in the group afterwards. If you're in the warm-up group, you will get a copy of all the slides. And if you do have any questions, you can contact me afterwards as well. So this, I mentioned Charles Duhigg earlier in his book, The Power of Habit. This habit loop is based off his knowledge, his information. And it starts with a cue. So the cue is something that tells our brain to perform a habit. When we start with a habit, that cue might feel a little bit forced. It might feel a little bit like we have to do that. There's a bit of intention, there's a bit of pushing ourselves to do it. But eventually, as that becomes unconscious, actually, we don't need to think about it. James Clear talks about major cues. So James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits, definitely recommend that book as well. He talks about the major cues of time, location, emotional state, and preceding event. So if we think about the examples I said before, when I get into a car, I put a seatbelt on. Something I regularly talk about, when I am bored, I will eat. A much healthier dopamine fix might be doing something that means I'm not bored. Or when I'm feeling a little bit low, I might turn Netflix on. So what can I do to replace that habit with something else? Next in the loop is the routine. That's just a different way of saying the action, the thing that we actually do. And it doesn't have to be a physical action. It could also be an emotional action. It might be when something happens, I don't talk to myself very nicely. It might be when something happens, I become quite introverted. And then next is the reward. And when we think about reward and hindering habits, we probably think, oh, there isn't a reward for those. But actually, sometimes the reward doesn't necessarily always automatically seem like a really positive thing. The reward can be a feeling. So when I eat crisps, I feel I enjoy the taste, so I want to eat more crisps. But it could also be an emotional thing. When I do something, it makes me feel good. And if the reward is really strong, it can create a craving, which almost acts as the cue in itself. So if the reward is so great, if you think about maybe in a previous session, people were talking about what brings them joy is laughing with other people, connecting with other people. So if that reward is so strong, it creates a craving, it's a prompt for you to do that habit. It's a prompt for you to do that action. If we build an emotional attachment to goals and align them with our identity, it can help to create that craving. So we're not always talking about those short-term rewards. We're also talking about kind of long-term rewards. What does this say about the person I am? Embrace a little bit of smugness. It's fine. I'm feeling good about myself doing this. It means that I'm this sort of person. Why not? So James Clear also outlines elements that help us to build and break habits. So he says that 4 elements to build a habit are that we make them easy, we make them visible, we make them attractive, and we make them satisfying. So I like that kind of the satisfying sometimes brings a bit of a people element to it for me. The visible is sometimes, well, if I can see what's in my diary, or if I can see my gym clothes, I'm more likely to do that. If I open my fridge and it's full of nice green food or colourful food, then I'm more likely to do that. I know that Lavender has shared about neurospicy elements to love atomic habits. Great. I've seen something recently about putting your fruit and veg in the front of your fridge so that you use them and you can see them. And that's really helpful for people who are neurodivergent. And to break those habits, it helps them to be the opposite. So make it difficult. Put your phone in another room. Make them invisible. Make it unattractive. Make it unsatisfying. So if we think about that loop, an easy way to build a habit is actually stacking it onto an existing loop. So if you already do something every single day, you can just stack it onto that existing loop. So for example, you brush your teeth every single day at the same time. Why not give yourself this is the most important thing that I need to do today. Plan out what is your priority for you to do that day. I know a few of you mentioned about, I'm a procrastinator, I'm lazy, I don't get those things done. Why not use that existing loop to add in a habit there? A great way to break a habit is also to replace the routine. So if you already have a cue, you've already got the loop, can you replace that hindering habit with something that is more helpful to you? Because that neural pathway, it's nice and clear. We just need to put something that is more helpful to us in there. Rather than creating a new neural pathway, chopping down all those trees to actually create a route for us. There's a couple of other things that he talks about. So he said, getting an accountability buddy who can help you with this. Tracking and reflecting what's going well, how are you celebrating? And having a little bit of a Goldilocks moment. How realistic does this feel to me right now? We talked about those small actions, those consistent actions. So very quickly, let's build a habit. What is a habit you are going to share from today? Give it some emotion, make it easy, attractive, satisfying. Think about how you're going to build that loop. And if anyone would love to share, which I would love to see, we have a final little QR code. What habit are you thinking that you're going to build? Alice, thank you for sharing that already. A glass of water with every cup of coffee. Yeah, making sure that we are hydrated is very important. Anybody else like to share what habit they're going to build for themselves? A daily journal, yeah. Fantastic. Okay, we have a few other people sharing. Walking, yeah. Clear your desk at the end of the day. Pack your laptop away at the end of the week. I think you were both thinking the same thing. What is my transition to make sure that life is more important than work? Yeah. Exercise, being more present. Yeah. And as you think about these things, think about how you can really put them into the context of your life. What does that look like? When am I going to do it? Who's going to help me do that? What's going to make me more committed to do this? And what does that say about the person I am? What am I telling myself in doing this? Be more selfish with your time. Yeah. Getting your gym gear out each night. Right, there's some really good ones coming through now. Fantastic. Right. I am definitely running out of time a little bit, but that is the bonus of being the last session. I don't have to worry about anyone being after me. So yeah, we've got a few people picking up on those meditations, those exercises to help you be more present and really think about how you're looking after yourself and what you are telling yourself. Okay. So my gift to you is a Taking Control of Your Habits workbook. It is a workbook of about 20 pages, lots of different reflective questions in there. It's an editable workbook as well. So it's an editable PDF. You don't have to print it out or anything. You can use it multiple times. And it has lots and lots of different tools in there. So the Crossroads is in there. The pyramid is in there as well. And lots of ways for you to think about how you can build habits that reflect your identity. And if you are looking for more support, then obviously you can contact me in a number of different ways. So my LinkedIn connection is there again, and my email is there too. And I will drop all of this information into the warm-up group and Facebook group. So thank you all for joining me today. If there is anything that you've particularly taken away from today and you would like to share it on LinkedIn, is kind of where I hang out. Share it on LinkedIn. Let us be your accountability buddies. Let us be there to support you in getting those habits done. Or if you just want to drop me an email to let me know, I will be your accountability buddy. So thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions at all? Please do pop them in the chat if you do.
There's lots of thanks coming through, Chloe.
Thank you. I can see those. Oh, thank you so much, Steve. Thank you. And yes, I will be your accountability buddy. Thanks, everyone. It's lovely feedback. Yes, please do connect with me. Go and check out the Habits Workbook. And if you've got any questions in future, just drop me an email.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Chloe. And yeah, as she already said, they'll be available in the warm-up group where all of our speakers are actually sharing details of their sessions throughout the day. So you can go over there and check that out. Thank you so much, Chloe, for your time today and being our last speaker of this 2-day event. It's been amazing. It's been a fabulous way to close off as well. So thank you so much for your hard work, for the session planning that goes into this behind the scenes. I know how tricky it's been for everybody, but it's just been so worthwhile. So thank you so much, and thank you to everybody for joining us this afternoon and taking time out of your day as always. Just one final one from me with regards to In Good Company. Again, it's just a reminder about the Q&A sessions that we have tomorrow, which is on the Friday the 5th of July. We have a Q&A with Zoe at 9:30 about training to be a coach, and at 12:30 with Joe about our CPD courses, emotions coaching practitioner training, and our foundations of group and team coaching courses. So it seems really strange now to say goodbye to everybody and not be with anybody again for the rest of the day or the week, should I say. But thank you once again, Chloe. It's been fabulous. And thank you so much to everyone for joining us this afternoon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, Shelley.